This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All righty, Ira. Boy, that was fun last night.
No.
Why? Why wasn't it fun? The drama.
You know what? There's drama and there's bullshit. And to me, in my perspective on this, sometimes the bullshit just gets in the way.
No shit.
And you have guys like Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero and Eric Spoelstra busting their ass to try to find a way to salvage this season and to make it more than what we've seen to this point. So, yeah, I understand. I even spoke to an NBA executive about a week ago, and I said, is this league any more about the players and the games and the personalities, or is this league all about the transactions and the trades and the waiver wires? And he said, look, Adam Silver knows what gets publicity. He knows what can fuel this league as well. And so, yes, if you're into the transactional stuff, hey, it's the second Christmas within a week, and I get all that. But if you're into basketball and the game and winning and style and all that, this crap just sours everything. And it gets the average person to say, wait a minute, this guy's making $48 million a year and he can't find joy. You know what, Big O? I find joy when I can pay my bills, when I can meet the mortgage, when I can actually afford to take the wife out to dinner. And yet, I'm sorry to go a little long here, and yet, if Jimmy Butler plays tomorrow against the Utah Jazz at Kaseya Center and Mike Biamonte goes, and number 22, which I don't expect to happen, Jimmy Butler, I think fans will still cheer. So, it still is what it is. But to me, it's just the BS that sort of takes the edge of what really, perfectly, of the main thing being the main thing. The main thing is left the building. It's not the main thing right now.
Yeah, no, and and as I've been saying for a while, this guy's really not about the culture. Okay, and yesterday when he says, I need to help this team win. Can you find your joy? No, I can't. Well, then you can't help this team win. Then you know what I mean. You're contradicting yourself, and you can't find joy, bro. You're getting paid a ton of money, and you can't say that you're not giving effort out there. Are you kidding me, bro? For 2 years plus now, you don't give effort during the regular season. It's constant. It's obvious. But I get it. In today's world, you could just tell a lie over and over and over again, and eventually people will believe lies. That's kind of what happens in our society nowadays. So I understand the approach by Jimmy, because hell, it might work out for him. But I mean, it's like you said, this is just a lot of bullshit going on. The Heat have done everything that on their part. They've gone above and beyond. They've paid him multiple contracts. They brought his best friend here, which was a screw up by them. And he screwed his own franchise and his own window with all of that. And, it's just like there's no accountability on that end. You know what I mean? And it's just throwing it all on the team and the joy and all that bullshit. And he's not doing his part, dude.
No, he threw Eric Spoelstra under the bus. I mean, when you talk about people you might throw under the bus, Eric Spoelstra might be at the back of the bus when I'm going through my choices. I will say this, because I want to give perspective. If we take Jimmy at face value, which is very hard, but if we do, and his post-game screed last night about him being shuttled out of the offense because Tyler Hero's a leading man, because this is the three-point league right now, because they're trying to get Bam Adebayo with his max extension back in a rhythm. Let's take all of that into account. That would be Jimmy sort of saying this, that Orlando Alzugary's back on terrestrial radio, and his management tells him, if you get good ratings, we will give you a raise, and then puts him on the 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. shift and goes, well, you're not getting any ratings. So Jimmy Butler's point is this: I can't be Jimmy Butler in this type of system. I can't be Jimmy Butler as a third wheel. I can't be Jimmy Butler as someone who steps aside to let other players shoot three-pointers. But it's supposed to be about the team. And you're still getting paid $48 million. And you will get money from someone somewhere else anyway. Here's the deal. Jimmy Butler has been in various places where he has been the leading man and then wasn't the leading man. Where he's in Chicago and then Derrick Rose comes along. Where he's in Minnesota and then Karl Anthony Towns comes along. where he's in Philadelphia and Joel Embiid is the man, and you have other emerging players step up, and even Tobias Harris getting a contract, that's when it sours. This sort of seems like shitting on Tyler Hero, because this is Tyler's time right now. And Tyler's taking it back, moving forward, and he's enjoying his moments. But it's really kind of crappy that Tyler Hero has to answer questions like this.
I felt bad for
Bio has to answer questions like this. But Big O, we wouldn't be doing our jobs if we didn't ask questions like that. Because if something is messing up the team chemistry and the team vibe, hey, that still matters, because the latest I checked, even while Jimmy might not be happy with his contractual situation, they're still keeping standings. There's still a playoff race and a play-in race. There's still something to play for. We're not even halfway through this right now, which is why I am so curious and checking my phone right now to see what the Miami Heat do next. Because is it tenable to simply let this play out the way it did last night and Wednesday night? So, Big O, let you offer your thought first, and I'll give you mine. If you are Pat Riley, if you are the Miami Heat, what is the next step ahead of Saturday's 8 p.m. game against the Utah Jazz?
I'm actually putting him on ice. Why? Because if I'm going to trade him, I'd rather not play him, because he's not going to play hard. He's going to protect his body. I've been telling you for a year now, right? His body can't stand the punishment. He cannot play for extended periods of time. He will not give you weeks or a month or 2 months of Jimmy ball, because he cannot. So this scam now has gotten to a point where he wants to make this move without even proving to everybody else he can do this. So if I'm the Heat, since he's not going to display his skills so I can get the better deal for my team, well, then I'll just put him on ice. That way I don't
put him on ice. How? Just tell me, how are you putting him on ice?
You can't actually just inactivate him?
Well, you can put him on ice by asking him to stay away from the team. You can put him on ice by having him sit on the end of the bench. You can put him on ice by having him in uniform and sitting on the end of the bench. Which of those three are you advocating?
Out completely, away from the team, away from the vibe, because I don't want him around my young people. So he's out. And hey, if somebody's interested, well, listen. If not, hey, at the end of the year, you said you'd opt out. You can opt out. Have a great.
You know what? The Players Association has said you cannot force a player away from your facility if he wants to be there. So there's going to be a little push-pull there also, where Jimmy might say, I want to work out.
The other option that I don't have him on the bench, what do I have him at?
I'm saying your other options are be away from the team, which Jimmy can protest. Have him on the bench in uniform and not playing. Have him on the bench and out of uniform so he can play, and he can wear his Alo clothes and his big face coffee sweatshirt.
That's what I would do.
Let him be a billboard.
Let him be a billboard. Let him sit there, because one, I eliminate the risk of injury. So I'm not stuck, because if he gets injured, he's going to pick up his option and you're screwed. So I'm going to get my way, and I'm going to get my space next year, that $14 million exemption I have, all that other stuff that you guys have listed. So I have at least some flexibility. And again, if you're smart and you follow Orlando Alzugaray, Pat Riley, you trade Tyler Hero next month for whatever you can and really pick up a bunch of picks and really open up space. But anyway, that's
I'm going to leave the second point for another day, because we have our accurate Pembroke Pines reports all the time. But I want to go back to your first point in this.
Another subject, but I would protect that. And then if somebody wants to trade them, because you know they're going to only offer you Bradley Beal and bullshit like that anyway, so you're not going to take those kind of bad contracts back. Nobody's really going to offer you picks. So why am I going to give him any satisfaction out of all of
this? And I get that. But Big O, let's look at this roster for a second. Something you've been very high on and we've spoken about. This roster has a lot of really good future thought. We saw Kel'el Ware, albeit in a one-sided game in the fourth quarter yesterday. He was good. We've seen Nico Jovic.
Wait a minute. How do you not end up with one rebound, bro?
Exactly. So we still have issues. Okay. So Kel'el Ware goes for 25 and shows he can score and shoot threes. Nico Jovic has played much better recently. With Jimmy out, Jaime Jaquez has more of a chance to round into form. You've given Keshad Johnson a standard contract, because you think at worst maybe he's a Clarence Weatherspoon type, someone like that, an undersized 4. You might have that. Isaiah Stevens now is a two-way contract. Very interesting with this passing. One of your favorites, Pella Larson. But here's the deal.
Can we bring Jamal Mashburn back so he can pass a shot off to Kashad Jones?
Fair enough.
I'm sorry. I digress. I'm sorry.
Fair enough. So you have plenty of young talent on the Heat. Do you want Jimmy Butler around when these guys are trying to learn the right way how to be a professional, and you have Jimmy doing Lord knows what on the bench? Remember, the last time he was held out of a game and sat on the bench was the game that Niko Jovic played in Indiana, and Jimmy wore a protective face mask to mock in alliance with Niko having to wear a mask for his broken nose. Okay, right. It's a little bit funny when the game starts. It's a little bit less funny after the first time out. It becomes a distraction when he wears it the entire game. So what I'm saying is that's the other part that he'd have to consider also. If Jimmy Butler's around the team, if Jimmy Butler's in practice or the practice facility, if Jimmy Butler's on the bench during the game, are you getting the best of your young players learning how to be a professional, or are you exposing them to some circus sideshow instead? There are so many factors at play, Big O, here, because the one thing we know more than any other sport, including quarterbacks in football, is the NBA is about the singular star and how he can change the entire dynamic for a team. From Pat Riley, from Magic Johnson forcing Pat Riley out as a coach to other players forcing their way out. This is a really delicate situation. It's not fair to Erik Spoelstra, no matter how it plays out. I need to see Pat Riley where, at this stage of his career, he can handle this type of situation.
Point, counterpoint. Let's have a little fun with this, okay? Without calling you a slut. All right, here we go. Again, we aged ourselves, don't we? All right, we look at this with Butler, all right? He could do that for a couple of games. But knowing Jimmy Butler and how he's acted, if you put him like that, he'll eventually disappear on his own. And he will not become that guy every day, because that's not going to help his trade value. If he becomes a dick every day and starts making a show of himself at the end of the bench in a suit or whatever he wants to wear, or whatever color hair or whatever, it's only going to hurt around the NBA to pick him up. So I think, yeah, you might have a first couple of games where he might make a stank, and then after a quiet stank, but then after that, he's going to disappear because you guys won't have to ask him any questions. Remember, he likes to be asked questions. He likes to have attention. Well, he's not playing. He's not going to be brought to the podium. He's not going to.
He'll still get it.
Only for a couple of games. After that, he's going to see that it's not going to get him anywhere, and he's going to be better off just disappearing and let the process be the process, whether it runs out the course of the season or somebody makes some kind of a decent trade offer that Miami's willing to make before the deadline. That's what I would call his bluff on all of this, dude.
Or he opts in and you have another year of this. That's the thing, is there's so many unknowns, Big O.
He's not going to opt in.
There's just too many unknowns here. And two, Jimmy will get the attention if he wants it. Whether it's Rachel Nichols again, whether it's Chris Haynes, whether it's Sam Amick, whether it's Shams, whether it's someone, he will do his sit-down interviews. So just when you think you are out, hey, Coach Eric, did you see the interview Jimmy did yesterday? Your thoughts. Hey, Tyler. Hey, Bam. Hey, Pella. Hey, anyone, Khalil in the locker room. What did you think of that? It won't go away. That's what makes these type of situations so toxic. On the other hand, no matter how a player acts out, the one thing we've learned in today's NBA, there's always another spot. For example, you know who's beloved right now with the Los Angeles Clippers? James Harden. James, get me out of Houston, Harden. Get me out of Brooklyn, Harden. Get me out of Phoenix, Harden. You know who's beloved right now in Dallas? Kyrie, I'm not showing up. What COVID, anti-Semitic comments. Now he's a Mavericks fan favorite because he's playing well and he's winning. The one lesson we've learned, for as much as you could talk about acting out and not doing the right thing, if you win, if you help your next team, Jimmy Butler's next team's fan base will love Jimmy Butler, just like they did here after what happened in Chicago and Minnesota and Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's if that body can hold up wherever he goes. And it
will at the beginning, because a motivated Jimmy Butler is a completely different Jimmy Butler. A motivated Jimmy Butler is still one of the top 15 players in the NBA, but how long can he sustain that at 35, 36 years old is not the same as when he arrived to the Miami Heat at 30, 31 years old. That's the difference. So the other players I mentioned, a little bit younger, able to do it more. But that's what happens. The players run the asylum. It's the NBA.
Oh, that's true. That is true. And I said that before you came on, that in the end, players in the NBA end up getting what they want.
Sure.
And Harden is the number one example. Or you could be Anthony Davis and wear a Mickey Mouse shirt for New Orleans, and the next day you're in Los Angeles, and Shaq can say, "Hey, Orlando, you're just a Mickey Mouse town. I'm headed to Los Angeles." That's just the way it is. And this Paul George, whatever, right. It just everybody gets their way in this league. Shams yesterday put out the report and put some comments out there in the report. Let's play it, and I want to ask you about something. Sean, please fire away Shams Charania.
David, let me translate this. Sources tell ESPN that Jimmy Butler has indicated to the Miami Heat that he wants the organization to trade him. He wants to play anywhere but Miami. Sources also say that he does prefer the Suns, Warriors, Rockets, Mavericks as desired destinations, but both sides have met over the last week, the Heat with his agent, to try to diffuse this situation from my understanding, but it has reached a point of no return. And one issue that has circulated in the last 24 hours is the Heat implying to Jimmy Butler and people around him that he might not have been putting forth or playing his hardest in Wednesday's win against New Orleans. And that was a breaking point of sorts. And at this point, it has nothing to do with his contract. He's on a $49 million deal. He was extension eligible. And Pat Riley said in the offseason, essentially, that we are not going to be extending Jimmy Butler. He does have a $52 million player option for next season. It gives both sides an amount of leverage. Jimmy Butler has the right to opt out and become a free agent. The Heat, likewise, can see whether he does indeed opt in or opt out. But this is a situation, David, it is at a point of no return. It's irreparable. And it's at a point now where, this battle between two alphas, there is not going to be a resolution until Jimmy Butler feels like his request has been satisfied.
All right. So first of all,
bullshit. Yeah. It's not about money. It's only about money. And I'll put it this way, Orlando Alzugaray. If you're telling me it's not about money, if Jimmy Butler got his extension from the Heat last summer, if Jimmy Butler gets his extension coming forward about upwards of $150 million, are you telling me that any of this would be happening? And I highly doubt that.
Of course not. Of course not.
It's all about the money. It's only about the money.
Congratulations to the Heat giving it to them like it is, because effort has been a problem for 2 years and 32 games. Okay. During the regular season, he has not given the effort that a professional is supposed to give over the last 2 years and 32 games, so far. So this whole, and yesterday he tells you, whether I scored 9 or 29, I'm out there just because my usage rate and all this bullshit. No, dude, you're coasting. You're not. We know when Jimmy wants the ball. It's obvious when he wants to be a disruptor. Offensively, defensively, facilitating, scoring, he does it. So please, it's a bunch of crap.
No, and I totally agree. And it's about the money, and that's why he's open to any other of the 29 teams right now for this simple reason. He wants to get the money. He's going to chase the money. Everything else will fall into place. Wait. He's actually amenable to going to Washington, which has no chance to make the playoffs this year. That tells you all you need to know. If you're going to pony up, he'll show up. That's where we are right now.
Yeah. One more thing. Destinations. Obviously, there was some reports about, he's willing to go anywhere, but then Shams fired away again, the same ones that he mentioned in his initial report that Bernie Lee, of course, was losing his mind on. So you tell me, anything realistic? Is there, because, you've mentioned it, all the deals that are out there, like the Bradley Beal deal, is like a shit deal.
Well, unless it's a multiple team trade, of which no one is better in the NBA than Andy Ellisberg in making all these parts fit with multiple team trades. So that is possible. What I will say is this. The original list came out because basically Butler's camp made it known, if you're not going to extend us, we are going to leave after the year and you're going to be a rental. I think right now that he doesn't really care about what Jimmy Butler wants. And I think a team that might even view him as a rental might be able to willing to take the risk for expiring contracts and some type of draft capital and say, you know what, we'll ride this out. If it doesn't work out, we'll deal with it at the end of the year and move forward there, which is why I think it opens it up to all 29 teams. If he can get cap relief, some sort of draft capital, and maybe a working part to sub in for Jimmy Butler, I think they would do it to anyone and anywhere.
And by the way, just to play off what you were saying, maybe this also is the trigger, a term that Spo likes to use, to get Jaime Jaquez to become your poor man's Jimmy Butler.
Well, it'll open the opportunity. It'll open the floor for others, but you're not going to be as good a team without Jimmy Butler. You're just not. Even different Jimmy Butler.
That's why I said poor man, because he brings those kind of elements that will then, complement the three-point shooters that you do have, is what I'm saying. Right. So you'll have a little bit of the grit guy that goes out there with the blue collar.
But you're still desperately involved in a playoff race where 1 or 2 games can mean everything. Where last night against the Pacers meant a potential tiebreaker. You have such little wiggle room to play the development game, the what if game, the will wait you out game. Because you know what? One day you could wake up in 4th or 5th place, based on especially how Orlando is going right now. But you know what? The next day you can wind up in 8th or 9th place because you have Indiana, because you have Atlanta right on your heels there with very little wiggle room, with Philadelphia still possibly moving up the standings. So the timing sucks. The Heat are limited in what they can do. And yes, they're the Heat still. They'll still play to win and still live in the moment because that's who they are.
Listen, as I can say this, I'm good with all of this. I'm good. I'm good that you can turn the page, move on from this. You need to. You can now focus on your young guys, which is what I wanted from the get-go. I wanted more developmental year. I don't mind if you take a step or 2 or 3 back. If it's going to help you take 5, 6 steps forward, that's what I'm all about. You've given us more than enough winning for a quarter century, for God's sake. It's all good, dude. It's smart basketball. It's smart business to take a couple of steps back. You don't have to keep forcing the issue to try to spoil and live up to something. You're trying to live up to an expectation right now that you've set that is unrealistic because you don't have the proper pieces in place. You know what to do as an organization. You know the kind of players you need. They got to know in the building they don't have it.
I totally agree. And as we conclude, at least once when you ask me, what do you have coming up in the paper? I can tell you know exactly what I have coming up.
Yes. And follow him on Twitter at Ira Heat Beat so you can get all of the Heat nuggets. Ira, have a fantastic weekend, my friend. I appreciate it.
I will. The next week we come back with our accurate Pembroke Pines report. We'll do a little investigative look into the new player the Heat got in exchange for Jimmy Butler. Catch you next week, Big O. Thanks.
You got it, Ira. Thank you very much. And make sure you subscribe to the South Florida Sun Sentinel and visit our friends at Craig's Inns Acura of Pembroke Pines. They are getting it done as always. Larry Schlossberg, Pat Nasto, Tony Stampone, all the amazing people out there, man. And let me tell you, Mike Chan, Jordan Ferber do a great job in the service center. The Integra right now, folks, the 2025 model, you can get 3.9% financing for 60 months. You can get it for $339 a month. The RDX, brand new 2025, you can get it $399 a month. In stock for immediate delivery. The ZDX, get electrified, and it is awesome. 0.9% financing for 72 months. No payments for 90 days. You can get it for $449 a month. That is a joke. The MDX Tech 2025, $10,000 off the MSRP. Get on down there. Tell them that Big O sent you at Craig's Inns Acura of Pembroke Pines.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.